Hello, everyone. Welcome to day 2 of MC13 live updates with Jan Walter in Abu Dhabi. Jan, it's
Hi,
great to see
John.
you again. Yeah.
It's good to see you too.
So what would you say are the 3 main highlights of this day? Because you've gotten kind of a feel of what's happening on the ground and who is there. What could you tell the people?
We talked yesterday about the ministerial being a little bit calmer because it's the first ceremonial day. So now that's changed. Like today is mayhem. Today is a mess. Right? Like everybody's just running around. Nobody's managing to be at all the events that are taking place. There's so much happening, but let me try to distill it to real world implications. So I'll start with actually quite an interesting agreement that was sealed today, and that's on services domestic regulation. Now, that might seem a little bit technical, but it's basically a change of members' schedules when it comes to members' commitments when it comes to services and their exchange across borders. Now, that is interesting because that agreement was done, the substance of it was done 2 years ago in 2021. But there were some members because this agreement is among about 70 members. Now, the big ones are there. You have US, China, EU member states, all part of it. But it's not the whole membership. Now, we had South Africa and India basically holding up approval of the schedules, a list of commitments on services. But this morning, India lifted their objection, and there was a ceremony today to bring this in. Now, just to bring it to real terms, there is a study by OECD and the WTO, which is pointing to 150 billion US dollars additional trade based on this agreement. So this is now in force as of this morning, local time. And there are additional liberalization commitments by a number of members, including the big. Second piece, which I wanted to mention, is that business community is really getting involved into the whole circus. I just came from a session with businesses talking about their priorities, and surprise, surprise, mostly talking about e-commerce, agriculture, intellectual property featuring there a lot, and dispute settlement reform. We talked about it yesterday as well. So I won't go into that much detail, but on e-commerce, I think it's interesting to look at it from a perspective. Look, businesses are engaging. They are definitely here. There's a lot of associations, a lot of businesses as well. And, I work for a lot of clients who are really interested in this. But I must say that there is a sense of hopes in this organization or in the WTO being able to deliver are slightly waning, right? And I think that's connected to the e-commerce moratorium, because that's a case in point. I've heard some people saying if this organization is not even able to extend the e-commerce moratorium, which is basically a no-brainer from economic point of view, we are losing our hope for the WTO. So I think that's interesting. From what I hear, on the member side, on e-commerce, there are discussions starting to happen. South Africa apparently is ready to talk about some contours. Indonesia is hard to read, but potentially as well. India holding up. So we are still seeing that. You asked for 3, so I'll add a third one, which is it's yet to happen, but there's a lot of talk about trade and climate change and how trade can contribute to climate change mitigation, be it through environmentally friendly technologies being accessed across borders, or be it kind of looking at plastics pollution and how to deal with that. So there's going to be also a relatively interesting event in the evening where ministers who form a coalition on trade and climate are getting together and really starting to, because it's nice words, but trying to pinpoint what trade can actually do. So I think those are the 3 highlights, but again, a lot of things are happening.
Wow, that sounds like a really packed program. And I'm really curious also for your upcoming updates, just talking about the link between trade and climate. Are you planning to attend this coalition of ministers, or is that like a closed door meeting?
I'm certainly going to be there. Just an hour ago, I spoke to the organizers, and they tell me that there's a lot of interest from ministers to come in and to speak. So they might even have to limit the number of ministers able to speak, because otherwise we will be just, hearing speeches, as important as they are. So yes, I'll be there. I'll hold a finger on the pulse of that debate.
Okay. What about digital? I mean, it's obviously a major theme. So what are some of the big questions that are being posed?
I think it does come down to the e-commerce. And it's not only the moratorium. I mean, that's the immediate effect, right? But there is also a work program on e-commerce. And how can the membership and governments manage to bring in countries and economies into e-commerce? So that's a whole debate. Now, because of the varying levels of economic development, but also digital development, if you will, it's difficult to find a common denominator, but the members are trying. Now, there is a lot of discussion about policy space and whether it is better to prescribe a path to countries to be able to kind of be more digitally savvy and digital connect into the trade network, or whether it's better to leave space and leave it to countries on their own to navigate the space. Now, it's probably a bit of a mythological debate because obviously, one size doesn't fit all. So there is a combination, or there's a balance to be found. But I would kind of pinpoint when we talk with regards to this ministerial, when we talk about digital, I think we are really looking at the e-commerce discussions, the work program, and the moratorium.
All right. And in terms of the focus on tomorrow, what can we expect?
And as yesterday, there's the agenda, the formal one, what is going to be discussed in the big halls, and there is this what is actually going to happen. So I'll give you two on the former and one on the latter. So on the agenda, we have DS reform, the outcome document as well, which is like an outcome document is like a declaration by ministers that they pronounce. And we discussed yesterday, the ministerial is also providing mandate going forward, right? So that's the ministerial outcome document. So that's going to be discussed. And it's probably going to be a bit of a Christmas tree, everybody wanting to try to bring in their thing. So that's difficult to navigate, but no immediate legally binding agreements coming out of it. And on DS reform, we talked about it. Dispute settlement reform, apologies for the abbreviations. Everybody around here talks in abbreviations, which is sometimes very confusing, but it's a shortcut, right? Anyway, so the dispute settlement reform is looking at how to reform this organization to be able to resolve trade disputes. And development. Now, there is a lot of discussions about how trade needs to work alongside development or catalyze development. Now, the little tidbit, which is not obviously appearing on the agenda, but everybody talks about it, is that I spoke a lot about India yesterday, I spoke a lot about India today, and that India is a key member when it comes to kind of like how this minister will end up, for also obvious reasons, the upcoming elections in India. Now, the Indian minister is not here right now, and he is coming starting tomorrow. So I think everybody is gearing up for tomorrow and Thursday to be really intensive days when it comes to final outcomes, because the key player is descending on Abu Dhabi, and we'll have the pleasure.
Okay, so exciting day tomorrow when the Indian minister actually arrives as well. I think that's what we have for today, Jan. We look forward to catching up with you tomorrow and connecting to find out again what happened with the Indian official also being present in the room and what that means for the discussion that is unfolding. So thank you very much.
Wonderful, and thanks to the viewers. And again, so much is happening. It's hard to put it in 10 minutes, but I understand. I don't want to bore people for longer. But please do get in touch, ideally on LinkedIn, if you have any questions. And so thanks very much, John.